Sam Leavitt, yes, he is in the portal. We're going to talk about it. It's not great news, but let's not fire Jonathan Smith just yet, all right?
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This little bonus episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. It's daily fantasy sports made easy with PrizePicks. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, hello. If you listened to the last episode, it's good to see you again. It's been about 3 hours. This is what we're going to do here. It's going to be a shorter episode right now because, well, around 3 o'clock today, we were recording. It was great. We talked about the guys that we already knew that were going to transfer, guys like Darius Snow, guys like Spencer Brown. We talked about the staff that Jonathan Smith is building, what makes them worth being somewhat excited about. Also, hey, why I think Max Bola should be on the staff. We had a great time 3 hours ago. And I even said during that show, hey, yeah, these two players are transferring. But don't be surprised if you hear from a four-star quarterback that also is transferred as well. And would you look at that? Katin Houser was the first one to announce it while we recorded last episode. And what's better than one guy entering the portal? How about two? How about both of the former four-star kids entering the portal? Because a little over an hour after Katin Houser announced his decision, Sam Leavitt as well plans on entering the portal as well. We're not going to let this linger for another day. That's why we're hopping on, doing another show as I stay chained to the studio. But yeah, let's talk about this because this obviously has Spartan Nation in a tizzy over here. We're going to do two things to kick this off. First things first, we're going to acknowledge this is not great. It's better. Get ready for this one. Write this down on your legal pad. It's better to have former four-star quarterbacks in your program than it is to not have them in your program. All right, this isn't great to see Katin Houser, guy that we saw start several games to end the year, the guy that we saw win Freshman of the Year in the Big Ten 2 weeks ago. It's not great to see Sam Leavitt, a guy with an electric arm, great promise in his young career. It's not great, okay? We're not going to put lipstick on the pig and say, good riddance. They sucked anyway. Not the case, and not true at all. No, we can acknowledge that. Now, the second thing we're going to do, everyone, we're going to take a deep breath too. Okay, it's not good news. It's not detrimental to the program, though. And maybe we all need to level set our expectations here for the beginning of the Jonathan Smith era. All right, this is going to be a rebuild. I think a lot of us are hip to that information right now that, hey, Michigan State, it's not great shakes. That was not a good season. The year before that was not a great season. There's a lot of things that need changing in this program. This is going to be a rebuild, guys. It might take more than just 1 year to flip the switch just like that. And no, I don't think either of these quarterbacks were going to pilot Michigan State to a 10-2 season and a berth in the 12-team college football playoff next year. Like that, this is going to be a ground-up rebuild. So that's my expectations. I know that, hey, we can all expect to have things go really quick in the world of college football these days, but man, it's going to take a little bit here. Also, why else are we going to take a deep breath? Because, hey, you know what? These aren't going to be the only two kids in the transfer portal. These aren't going to be the only former four-star quarterbacks in the transfer portal. All right, what is the transfer portal famously loaded with? It's young quarterbacks that were highly rated, that feel like they weren't given a fair shot early in their career. And I'm not saying that this is the case with these two kids. Houser certainly had a shot. Sam Leavitt certainly had a shot. But there are elsewhere around the country kids that feel like they weren't given a fair shot, so they enter the transfer portal. Or on the other end too, some older grad transfers as well. There's an opportunity to get a quarterback later on, guys. And also, hey, for the Noah Kim camp, he's still hanging around as well. So also, too, want to reiterate this. I don't expect this to be a high percentage chance, especially with one of these kids we're talking about. But just because you enter the transfer portal does not mean you have to stick around there. I think this is going to be something that we see more and more of, specifically with Michigan State, but also just college football as a whole. Because what's the best way to get a raise? Let's say this is an NIL thing for you. Let's say that you want to see what else is out there as far as money goes. What's the best way to get a raise in many professions, not just college football, not just sports, but in your everyday walk of life jobs. What's the best way to get a raise? By changing jobs. Much better to get a pay raise that way than to just, beg to your boss, hey, I've been really good here the last few years. Want to give me a pay increase? So maybe it could be that. Or let's take NIL out of it. What better time to have a hard reset on your career than when Michigan State is undergoing a hard reset on their career as well? I don't think it takes much empathy. I don't think it takes much sympathy or, observation to see why some kids after this year at Michigan State, the last 4 months here in East Lansing, might want to find somewhere else to restart their college career. It doesn't have to be all, curmudgeon-y and, old man yelling out a cloud about NIL. Sometimes it can just be like, hey, these two West Coast kids, this is a weird year. That was really bizarre. They have a new coach coming in, a coach that did not recruit either of these kids. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so it might just be time for a hard reset. Now, why? Who to blame? What's going on here? We don't know that for at least one of the guys. Just like we talked about, what better time to get out than now? Could it be a move closer to home to one of the old Pac-12 teams that are now going to be soon either a Big 10 team or a Big 12 team? Or let's not kid ourselves, any backdoor deals. I mean, by the time that story dropped at 1 a.m. on ESPN back a few weeks ago about Mel Tucker, I'm sure there were some sharks circling the MSU roster and maybe doing some back channeling of like, hey, when you want to enter the transfer portal, whether it's at the end of the year, whether it's right now, we got a place for you here at X. Now, that's not me crying about the situation or being like, oh, that's unfair. Oh, that's tampering's not allowed. Please, let's all grow up. Tampering happens all the time. Like, this is just a fact of the matter. So maybe it's a situation like that as well. We're going to talk about both these kids. We're going to start with Katin Houser, the guy that started multiple games for Michigan State here at the end. And look, first and foremost, I'm thankful for Katin Houser, thankful for what he did as a Spartan fan. Us Spartan fans should be appreciative of what Katin Houser provided for him because, hey, fact of the matter was he was the last man standing here. Noah Kim, he was hurt. He was gone for the year. Sam Leavitt, he played 4 games, wanted to wisely preserve his red shirt. And then, it's just me. It's just old Katin Houser here. Oh, my God, is that the Ohio State defense on the road I got to play against? And, oh, man, there's the Penn State defense, too. He had some tough situations. He had some moments that, weren't so great on the field that had a lot of State fans calling for his job, calling him overrated, saying he sucks, which is pretty unfair because he is still a young kid, a redshirt freshman, a lot of career ahead of him. And we've said this after his games, whether they were fine games, whether they were bad games. We're not going to switch our thoughts on Katin Houser right now. He's got a promising career ahead of him, and we wish him nothing but the best. No reason given for him. Again, probably just time for a change. A weird 2 years here. If those were your only 2 years in East Lansing, that's a pretty bizarre 2 years for the young kid. Now, we don't know why Katin Houser left exactly. Could be a whole list of issues. We got a pretty good idea of why Sam Leavitt has left, though. This is courtesy of Spartans Illustrated. Again, you hear me talk about Spartans Illustrated up and down on this show all the time. David Harns, Rhino Blennis, always doing great work. Go subscribe to the folks at Spartans Illustrated because they got probably the most candid quotes you can get out of a player as he plans to enter the transfer portal. I said, hey, you know what? Kids can come back from the portal. Chuck Brantley did it. Connor Hayward did it. It happens, all right? Sometimes kids just go out, find what their value is, and hey, if the best value still is at Michigan State, they'll come back. That will not be the case with Mr. Sam Leavitt here, who offered these quotes again to Spartans Illustrated, who felt slighted that Jonathan Smith, right in his own backyard, did not recruit him when he was in high school, saying, quote, I'm a hometown kid and Jonathan Smith didn't offer me. There are some hard feelings there. Leavitt did meet with Coach Smith today and brought up what happened in the past. And Leavitt went on to say, quote, I felt slighted by that. Why would they like me now when they didn't like me before? And then the story goes on to say, when asked if there was any chance that he might return to Michigan State, he replied, yeah, I'm just kind of done. Again, I'm not mad at Sam Leavitt. I'm not salty or bitter about it. I'm actually just amazed that he gave those blunt of quotes because a lot of times, especially just like the machismo side of it, like, oh, no, I'm not slighted by it. No, you can't hurt my feelings. I'm a football player. Like, he was very honest that, yeah, I am pissed that they didn't even offer me out of high school. And now this guy comes to my school, which, by the way, also written in Spartans Illustrated a few weeks ago, a school that Sam Leavitt loved, that his dad said he would have to be dragged out of. I hope he got a good pair of boots and gloves that get a nice grip on him, because it looks like you are dragging him out of here. But yeah, stark 180 from what we heard a few weeks ago. And again, like, look, you could take the route of saying, like, well, his next school better be Arizona, Washington State, Florida State, or Washington. The other 4 schools that offered him when he was in high school. Oh, you didn't like that Jonathan Smith didn't offer you? Well, it better be one of those schools. Well, yeah, you just realize that, hey, maybe it is time for a hard reset button for him. But that is, again, go full circle, a bummer, because Katin Houser, he enters the portal. It's like, that sucks. Well, hey, at least you got Sam Leavitt here. You know, maybe Aiden Childs wants to transfer here. And then Sam Leavitt's off the table. And now we're left with, kind of right now, our hope in Aiden Childs. Now, like we said, that's not the only 2 guys that are going to be in the transfer portal. And Aiden Childs, former 4-star quarterback out of California, top 100 recruit, true freshman this year, really, really strong year for the time he did play at Oregon State, 68% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, no interception, also a little bit of dual threat to him, 4.6 yards per carry. Now, he's not in the transfer portal right now. Now, why are we bringing his name up then? It's the obvious reason. All right, Brian Lindgren, the offensive coordinator, and Jonathan Smith recruited him to Oregon State. He pledged his commitment to those guys. Is it out of the question that he transfers to Michigan State? No, of course not in this day and age of college football. Michigan State will still have to compete if he does enter his name in the transfer portal, because, hey, it's hard to pull a West Coast kid away from home. But, hey, Houser's gone. Leavitt's gone. This is where that we're kind of just focusing our attention on right now is, hey, Will Childs, in the next week before the transfer portal even opens, will he announce anything of the like that he is going to plan to go elsewhere? Because that is going to arch both of our eyebrows. And if not him, again, want to reiterate this. The transfer portal is usually swimming with quarterbacks, okay? That this is not going to be just a barren, dry land with no talent out there. So that's where it's at. Is it good news that Houser and Leavitt are leaving? No. But guys, this is college football. Like, things move pretty quickly here. So it is what it is. This happens when a new staff comes to town. All right. It's a good time for kids to leave, especially with how weird the last few months have been. And then it just is what it is. Let's go swimming in the comment section here. This is a decision I never regret. Certainly. Let's see. I don't know. No one's saying anything like too hot takey right now. So, yeah. Okay. Well, that was underwhelming. Sorry, guys. Clicked on the comment section, expecting to open it up to some fire, to some anger, but now everyone's being pretty level-headed right now, so I applaud everyone. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Well, yeah, again, this isn't our first episode today. We just did this a few hours ago, and just for full transparency, also, it is Monday, 7:53 p.m., so if someone else enters the transfer portal in the next 15 minutes, you know why I missed it, because it just happened while we were recording, like the last episode, or what? Yeah. Fun times here. Jonathan Smith era, off to a poppin' start. If not for nothing else, it's been very entertaining so far. So again, he has his press conference Tuesday at noon. He'll be announced probably to the sold-out crowd at Breslin Center as the Spartans take on Georgia Southern here tomorrow. But yes, that will be the next time you hear for us. Ideally, is after the game, because we'll talk about this basketball team, that great start to the year, and then the Jonathan Smith press conference, all that stuff. All right, guys, you guys are all truly the best. Love you all. Go Green.